Welcome to the Hopefulist with me, Wendy McClure. This is where we turn those nasty, negative thoughts into positive and work toward a happy, fulfilled life. Now, let's get started. Hello and welcome to another bonus edition of the Hopefulist. Today we have with us Nicole Sunshine Dalton. She's a podcast host, an author, a prayer warrior, a mother, and a business owner. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, we are trying to get all walks of life here on the podcast, and we want to join all the hopefulists together in the world. So you have a couple of books out, and one of them, Looking In From the Outside. That is your autobiography?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that and your story.
So looking in from the outside, everybody sees the smiling face, thinking my life was all together. But meanwhile, there was childhood trauma. There was childhood issues unresolved. Then there was marriage issues, 17 years with someone, and you think you know someone, but you really don't. So looking in from the outside is people looking in, but they don't really know what goes on behind closed doors.
Okay, so what is how do you deal with the disparity between the two then? With how people are looking at you versus how it really is.
So this book was therapeutic for me. It was healing for me, as well as hopefully this can help other people, letting them know I got through it. You can too. So it's like an encouragement, letting them know about daddy issues, going back to school at the age of 40 and getting my associate's degree and graduating with honors. So it's like you could do it. You can always go and change your narrative. You don't have to stay in a situation.
So how do you get the courage to make those first couple of steps?
Ooh, it took me a while. I'm not going to lie. There was fear that was stopping me. But if I believe in God, and I don't rub my religion on anyone, but if I believe in God, I have to go ahead and walk by faith. So I took the leap of faith. I first meditated and prayed, saved up, and I did. Once I got his yes, you can go, because nobody should feel suffocated or in a toxic relationship, a toxic marriage, or anything like that. If your mental state is being threatened and you're not feeling safe or comfortable around someone, don't stay.
But you came up with a plan first. So you need a plan.
Yes.
You need faith.
You need a plan.
And plan.
Correct. And finances, because you can't just go without having finances set up, because if you're starting over, you want to make sure you have a little nest egg. Never leave money in the same spot. Always have different revenues to get to and use if you have to.
Okay. Can you explain that a little bit further? I'm not sure what you mean.
So, you know how people have bank accounts? Don't leave the money all in one spot. Make sure you have different accounts. Everything doesn't have to be together. You need your own separate account for rainy days.
So you're saying keep something separate from your partner, or just stuff for you so that you have something to fall back on? Okay.
Keep it for you to fall back on. And sometimes you do have to keep some from your partner due to the fact you don't know what's going to happen in the long run. You're not supposed to think like that, but you should always be protected in case something happens. Like, no,
I agree, absolutely. But yeah, many people in a marriage would not, you're happily going along. And you're like, well, I don't need to do that.
17 years? Yeah. You never know. You just never know what life brings.
So tell me a little bit about, again, I guess going back to the name of the book, Looking In From the Outside. how does that what is the purpose of work? I mean, are you saying that you're worrying about what other people are thinking, looking in from the outside, or is it just your story to say it's not really what you think?
Oh, I'm not worried about what other people think, because the thing is, when you know you're walking right and doing right by others, you should never worry about what other people think. But the title for looking in from the outside is, don't always judge a book by what you see, because it's not, it's like you look in the mirror, oh, she got it all together. But you never know what's happening behind closed doors. So this title was given, one, God gave me the title because everybody was thinking our marriage was perfect. Everything was hunky dory, a doting husband. But you have a doting wife. You have a faithful wife. You have one that's going to fight for you and the family and keep everything together. But the husband's not doing what he's supposed to do. The husband's not being the man of God he's saying he is. The husband's not doing. So people were seeing one thing, but it was totally the opposite.
And it's just like social media. I talk about this all the time. People put their highlight reel on social media. You don't know what's really going on behind closed doors. You don't know what this person's life is really like. And we've even had, so-called influencers come out and say, yeah, that was the 70-second picture that I took before I finally chose that one to put up on my social media account.
Me, if it's the first picture I take, I post. I'm not, one thing, people could tell you I don't sugarcoat it, I don't fake it, but I'm not. Right in this book, God was like, you got to tell your story. I'm like, I don't want people knowing my business. But because it's my business in here. And God was like, no, it's not your business. It's my business. You're here to help others. You're here to encourage others. And that's what I do. I like to encourage people because I'm like, just because I'm going through hell, I'm not going to let the enemy defeat me or take my smile away or take my joy away or take my peace away. So I could be smiling and dealing with a lot of mess, a lot of drama and everything else. But I'm like, I'm still standing. I'm still standing. Like, you're not going to beat me. You're not going to defeat me. You're not going to break me.
So what are some of the things that you do to talk yourself up and to keep you moving forward, even when times seem really tough?
Ooh, I go in prayer. I have to meditate, listen to soak in God's music for a while. And I remind myself, I'm beautiful. I know what I carry. I know what I can bring to the table. Don't you let no man tell you otherwise. Don't you let anybody tell you different. I'm smart. I'm a conqueror. You got this. You've overcome this. You've overcome that. You almost died in an accident. There's a purpose for you still being here. Get up. Let's go. Get dressed. Be productive. So sometimes I have bad days.
And it's about, being your mess, being your message, and what you were saying with, being led to write this book in order to help others. How can somebody take what they're going through and maybe turn it into something that they think can help others as well?
It's like, stop, think. There's somebody else worse than me out there. There's somebody worse than me dealing with what I'm dealing with. Can I overcome this? Yeah. Do I have a roof over my head? Yeah. Do I have food on my table? Okay. So let's figure out something. What do I want? And that's what I did. I said, Nicole, what do you really want? One, I want to be happy, fully, genuinely happy, not some of the time, not crying in the shower so my kids can't see, not hiding it from my children. I want to be literally happy. So I said, what is the toxic here? Him. So what are we going to do? I'm going to separate myself, not from my kids, but from him. Now, is it going to be easy? No. 17 years with someone? No, it's not going to be easy. but you could do it. And it's not easy, but if you want to be happy, you will make sure you do what you got to do to protect yourself, protect your peace, protect your mind, protect your spirit. So yeah.
I think that so many people are stuck in a bad place. And I think that it's fear that holds them there, that keeps them there. So you're talking about happiness being the, propelling you forward. But there's so many people that just can't see past the situation that they're in now. Do you have any tips or in your advice, something that they can do to try and put themselves first for the first time maybe in their life?
Oh, I was the person that didn't put me first. I put everybody else first.
Most women, yes.
I made sure my children were straight. I made sure he was where he wanted to be in his career. I made sure my family was taken care of. But I lost who I was in the process. So if you look in the mirror and you don't see you anymore and you don't see the person you used to be, don't let that fear stop you. Because the fear stopped me a long time. But then I went and got therapy. Some people say, growing up in my household, what happens in this house stays in this house. You don't heal that way. Keeping it bottled up makes you think, okay, I'm not supposed to speak about this. Okay, you got to heal. Mm-hmm. So I did therapy. I wrote in my book, stop telling people we don't discuss this outside of home. No, get a circle who's going to keep it honest with you and keep it with them and not run it and make it a gossip. Get someone that's a neutral party that don't know you and that can talk to you and get a better perspective of what you're dealing with so they can help you and guide you on your healing process. I did therapy.
Well, and therapy is, that's really, I wouldn't consider talking outside of the home. I mean, that's a professional who's not going to tell anybody else what you're talking about. I am a huge proponent of therapy. I always tell everybody, if you can manage therapy, if you can afford it, I 100% recommend it. It's always good to get somebody looking from the outside to get your story straight for you, because there's so much going on in our subconscious that we don't really even know that's happening, that's making so many decisions for us. And therapy is what helps pull that out.
Yeah, it really does. And they don't just pull it out. They give you assignments to do until the next meeting. Like, okay, here's your homework. Boom, 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 boom. Then the next time, okay, you did your homework. Let's talk about it. Then the next time, here's your other assignment. And you start seeing yourself and you start healing. I used to write when I was little. So start writing more. And that's when I started writing my books. I'm back to writing my books and I love it. It's so therapeutic.
Well, and you don't even have to write a book really to get the benefits of it. You just have to journal. I mean, just get it out on paper. I've talked about how I've started doing what's called morning pages, where it's 3 pages a day. I haven't made it to 3 pages yet, but I'll get there one of these days. But the point of it is to try and get all of the things that are stuck in your subconscious mind out on paper so that they're not rolling around in there, bogging you down and weighing you down throughout your day. So writing anything, pen to paper, man, just old school is really a way to just get right with yourself.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It really is. And I love it. I love it. I do spoken words. I write poetry. I love it. I do.
And the creative side, it's just so it's so freeing. It's so interesting. And it's something, it's like a point of pride. You create something. You're like, I created this. Like, you have books. You're like, I wrote a book. I wrote books.
Yes. And I'm the old school. I love books that you could highlight, fold down. And I'm old school. I love that. People's like, you don't just read it online? No,
Well, it depends on the book. I do novels and stuff like on Kindle, but yes, when I get into my personal development books and stuff, I have all the little Post-it flags and all of that kind of stuff, and all of my books, they're just all color coded, and it's a little insane.
It's okay because I do that too.
I put like a little blue flag for, I'm like, oh, that would be a great quote, and all kinds of things. So yeah, reading, writing, doing all of these things, they're all tremendously supportive in your own self-growth and where you want to be in your life. So tell us about your other two books.
Well, my other two books, this one here, Links to Our Legacy, Life After Death. This book is, I've worked with billionaires. I'm a paralegal now. I used to work for Geico for 10 years. So I was sitting at the table with CEOs, Tony Nicely, Warren Buffett, the owner of Geico. So when you're sitting there and you talk and have conversations with them, pick up nuggets, pick up along the way. So this book talks about death. Let's not leave debt to our family members to pay for our funeral when you could have life insurance, or you could pay your funeral off ahead of time. So that way your children, whoever's taking care of your children, could just take care of them and not think about the financial part. Because bad enough, when someone leaves, let's be honest, we have so many emotions going through, but then you're going to add on debt on top of that. So I have little nuggets in there on how to help leave wealth to your family, like creating generational wealth.
That's great.
Why you don't have a life insurance, healthcare proxy, what to have, power of attorney, last will and testaments. What happens if you don't have a last will and testaments? The state could come on in and try to take your money, and you have to go file for an estate, someone assigned to it, and then to manage, and so much nuggets in that book. And if you see a craft in your child, why don't you open up a business in their name? You don't have to do an LLC. You could just do a DBA by using your Social Security. So all this stuff I've learned through the years, I'm applying in the book to help others. I've even made it audio. For each chapter, it's only $1.99. If they do not have time to read, they could download it and listen to it in the car. Whatever they want to purchase. You want to know about funerals, how to handle that, you could download that one. Or if you want, when you're traveling, I've even put in tidbits on what you should do, what you should know about, things like that, because I travel all over. I've been overseas and I love traveling. My mother made sure we traveled when we was younger. Overseas, Hawaii. People's like, what? My senior year, we went to Hawaii for one of my senior gifts.
Wow. I'm jealous. I'd love to go to Hawaii. I've never been there.
It's beautiful. It's
expensive.
Yes. But it's beautiful. But you could do the finer things in life if you save. You book a trip, you don't have to use your paycheck if you save ahead of time. You know how I said have money not in just one pot?
Yeah.
So I leave tidbits in the book on what you can do. Then about home care. We didn't put my father, and I talked about my father in the book. My biological is still living, but my father, he passed when I was 15. And I say my father is, he's been in my life since, he was in my life since I was a baby. My mother married this man. This man knew my favorite colors. This man, so when I say father, there's two different meanings, father and biological. You helped create, but you wasn't there to help mold me into the woman I am today. So my father, Daddy Roy, when he passed, we made sure he passed in our home. We had home care come to us. Back then, they didn't pay you for taking care of your loved one. Now they do. Why put a family member in a nursing home when you could take care of them at home and get paid doing it? So there's tidbits in that book I recommend for people. Like if you want to get ahead in life, this book will help. Then this one, In God's Hands. That's just my personal testimonies, not even all of them, but life-changing moments when I could have died, but God saved me. But at the time, I didn't know it was him speaking and saving me because I didn't have that personal relationship. And now I do. So these are my testimonies here. I talk about the car accident when I almost died. That happened in Virginia. And if anybody ever says they don't believe it happened, you know, when you have a car accident and you sue someone, it's legal paperwork. It's filed in the courts. It's filed in Richmond, Virginia courts. So when I say they had to use the jaws of life to get me out and I'm still standing here, and you know, back in the 1990s, they didn't have airbags. Airbags didn't start until what? Late 2000s? In the late 2000s?
I'm not
sure.
So
it was a Mitsubishi Galant. Front of the car, head up, and the rest of that car slid into the driver's side.
Wow.
Paramedics thought I was dead because I was unconscious. Had a big fat hematoma, everything. But you know what? I'm still standing. I have cold, rainy days and winters. Messes with my parts like my knee, my foot, and my back from the accident. But I'm still standing.
Sounds like you got to move to Hawaii.
Mike, I want to move where it's warm,
Yeah.
but my kids want to finish school here first.
Gotcha.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So tell us where we can find the books. Where can we follow you and get more information about you?
Okay. Well, on Facebook, I'm under Nicole Sunshine Dalton. On Instagram, I'm celebrating_sunshine because that's where I go with the podcast. On Instagram, our business page for the podcast is D as in David, ASPKEZ. Does speak easy. It had to be broken down smaller. My books are on Amazon under Nicole Sunshine Dalton. And the spoken words, I'm on YouTube. I'm on all platforms under Nicole Dalton. I didn't make up a name or anything like that. Nope, it's me. And,
okay.
You know, it's there.
Well, thank you so much for Nicole. I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm humbled and thankful for you, and I appreciate you.
Oh, thanks so much. I appreciate you. Now, thank you for joining me on another episode of The Hopefulist. Now, go on out there and be badass. I'm always here cheering you on.